The average golfer is probably using a golf ball that is wrong for them, but I have one here in my hand that is killing the competition, and we're going to find out whether you should be using it. Let's give it a test out. Golf is getting more and more expensive. We're seeing prices soar, and even when we get to the ball department, we're seeing them getting really, really high. We're getting round to about £50 a dozen for a premium golf ball. But I have a ball here that is only coming in at $14.99 for a dozen, and it actually sells 4,000 a month on Amazon, 4,000 golf balls, and is Amazon's choice golf ball. And I would guess that actually it's probably one that a lot of amateurs should be playing. Today we're going to take a look at the Strix and Distance and see whether you should put it into your bag. So the average golfer uses round about 5 dozen golf balls a year. So if you were looking at the premium models, you would be looking at around about £250, $300. As where if you went for something like the Strix and Distance that we're going to test today, it would only set you back about £75, around about $95. So a little bit about the Strix and Distance golf ball. It sits in that distance category, so it's not at your tour level, so that's why we're seeing it's only a 2-piece golf ball. It's got the fast core layer, so that's the inner part of the golf ball. That's where we're going to see hopefully that low spin from the driver and the longer distances. It's then got the ionomer cover, which unlike the tour ball again isn't a urethane golf ball, so we're not going to see that you get that sort of really soft feel from it. We're not going to see as much spin, I would imagine, as well when we get round the greens. So price wise, they're coming in, like I say, at $14.99, and they are Amazon's choice golf ball, one of their top sellers on there, 4,000 units a month. And when you look at maybe like a Callaway, a Wilson, a Titleist in this sort of market, they are outselling them by quite a way on Amazon. The only other golf ball that is selling up close to them is the TaylorMade ball that we reviewed a few months back, which again in this category was a really, really good golf ball. Now I'm expecting these golf balls to do pretty much what they say on the tin. I don't think I'm going to see loads of sort of check and speed and spin around the green, seeing that they're getting those fast bites. And I would expect when I do get to the driver, I will see the spin drop off and it hopefully get a little bit of distance out there. But let's give it a little field test around the greens. Let's see how it's reacting around the greens, because for me, like I say, the worry is it feels like a rock, but actually having it in the hand and giving it a little bit of a bite test, it doesn't feel like it's going to actually be too rocky. But let's see how that translates to feel and sound. So we've had an initial chip and putt with the Distance golf ball there, and feel wise, I have to say I'm quite impressed. I, like I say, have this mindset when I think of the Distance golf ball. This is probably changed over the last 5, 6, 10 years now. We're not seeing that really rocky feeling, that really clicky, harsh sound from it. They actually feel pretty decent. If anything, this will sound strange, but they feel ever so slightly heavier off the club face, like there's not as much of that sort of soft spinny reaction to it, sort of feels a bit heavier and duller off the face. But overall, and even when you give it a bounce there, it doesn't sound really clicky. So actually, feel wise, they're actually feeling pretty good. Initial thoughts on green side control, when I'm hitting the pitches in, especially from a little bit longer, they seem to pop up a little bit higher, and they didn't really get much spin. They sort of land, don't have that initial sort of grab that you would expect to see, but then they just release out maybe 2, 3, 4 feet more than I was expecting. But again, ionomer cover, not a urethane cover, we're not going to see that bite from it. So pretty much what I was thinking I was going to see, not spinny around the greens, but feel wise they feel really, really good and sound pretty decent. They don't sound that harshness, so I would say that is a little pass there. I just want to hit a couple of balls now just against a premium golf ball. We're going to try it up against the Vice and see what the spin numbers actually are like, just to see how different they are, just so I can sort of clarify that in my mind. Then we're going to do a distance test with the driver, and then we're going to get to the more important bit, the durability bit, because I think that's where these golf balls could have the edge. Let's have a look at some numbers. So we're just going to hit half pitches here, just for that sort of green side number, just to see what it would be like. I'm going to hit the Vice Pro first, and then we'll do the tricks and distance. Okay, so that's 3,000 spin on that one for a half shot, only carrying 40 yards. Pretty consistent, just under 3,000, 2,900. That'll be spinny. 3,200 on that one. So with the Vice, it's coming in just over 3,000 revs for, I'm only hitting a 38-yard shot here. Now, obviously they're not in the same category, but I just want to highlight what you would see that difference being, because obviously if you are a higher handicapper, like I say, you do want some grip around the greens, but if you're aware that they're not going to spin, that's okay. So let's just hit 3 with the Strixon now, same sort of distance. Let's see what the numbers are looking like with that one. Okay, and just come and have a look at this one. This is where we can see the difference. Just get this number here. So it's that number there, 1,825, which is where the difference is coming. Wow, 1,300. That should be spinnier. So we know a little bit about how it's feeling and how it's reacting off the wedges. I just want to give it a little hit with the irons. This area I'm not that concerned with. I think it'll pretty much be a decent golf ball, probably go a little bit further than I would expect, and overall feel pretty much like it does with the wedges. So we're going to hit a few shots around the course to get an idea of that. So we're on the 13th, it's 165 yards to the flag. I'm going to use my 8-iron here, hit a couple, see what distance is like, see what flight's like, then we'll hit a couple around the course as well, just to get an idea. Oh wow, that has launched. They don't half pop in the air. Done well those 5-irons, about 270 yards, and I'm only a couple of paces away from the green there. Hit a couple more into 16, knock this one in the hole, get a hole in one. Okay, get a hole in one aiming there, Matthew. So a few shots there around the golf course, and pretty much what I expected. The distance was pretty decent. We were downwind on some of the shots, but on the ones that I hit on 15 and 13, they went an extra few yards, flying at least 170 with a 3/4 8-iron, and quite a way with that 5-iron up to the green. We had about 270 to the green, and I was only yards away from it. And then even into the wind, hitting on 16, it held up well. One thing that is noticeable when you do hit them, they launch high, which again, when we marry this ball up to the category that it's aimed for, maybe a beginner, maybe a higher handicapper, launching your irons is something that you probably want. So that's a massive tick for that. It's got the good feels, and then we're seeing that it's getting up there and it's got some distance. That surely is something that should be a big tick for, like I say, the mid and high handicappers. I want to test the distance with a driver and see what it's looking like with that, but then the most important bit for me is the durability test. How will it stack up when we hit 10 shots out of a bunker? Let's get the driver going, and then we're going to get in the bunker. I'm going to hit 5 shots now with the Strixon distance, just to see what it is with driver. Obviously it's a distance golf ball with that soft feel, so my normal driver carries around that 285 mark to 290. Am I going to see the same, or am I going to see all of a sudden I get a few more yards? Again, because if I am a higher handicapper and I get a few extra yards, I'm further down the fairway, hopefully, makes the game a little bit easier. But let's see what I get with this. It's a nice shot straight down the middle, tiny draw. It's so noticeable, that launch is just up there and it pops up. Nice high flight again. They are pretty much side by side. 302 yards for 2,000 spin. Those three are on top of each other. They're like the closest I've ever hit it to one another. Launch, first pulse shot that. So a little bit better than I expected from the distance golf ball there, the Srixon distance. It's gone an average of just under 300 yards carry, and probably the reason for that is the spin number and also the launch number. As I've said throughout this review, it's noticeable that the ball is popping out a little bit higher, and with my driver I'm seeing a launch angle that is just around 17 degrees now. Normally I would see it being round about 14 degrees. Doesn't sound a lot, but when you couple that with a low spin that's coming in just under 2,000 RPMs, we're gonna see that you get some monsters launching out there. So again, for that higher handicapper, mid handicapper, launch, low spin, distance, all big ticks. Let's see though if it stacks up with the durability, because if it falls down here and it actually rips apart after a couple of bunker shots and you're buying more and more, these things go out of the window. Let's give it a test. I've hit 10 shots out of the bunker, and I am happy to say, because of the ionomer cover, it has withstood all those shots. Obviously a lot of sand on the face there, not cleaning it after each shot, so there's going to be a lot of grit and a lot of wear on the golf ball. And as we can see, not really much noticeable wear. Yes, there's a few scuffs on there which we would expect to see, but if we look at some of the balls that we've tested in the past, maybe with that urethane cover, we see that they rip up really quickly, but this one really withstanding those shots there. So obviously if you're playing a round of golf, maybe getting 1 or 2 bunkers and you're hitting it around the course, we're probably going to see it would look something very similar for this. So that is a massive tick. So the Srixon Distance golf ball, $14.99 from Amazon, and the good thing as well, it's in pretty much every pro shop around the country, so readily available, which is fantastic. It's a big yes from me. It got that durability, it got the distance, it passed on the feel as well. The only slight thing I would say is that the spin lacks around the greens, but as you get better with your wedges, as your skill set gets better, maybe you could transfer out of it into another golf ball. But Srixon Distance, give it a go. It's definitely good for the mid to high handicapper, and you'll save yourself a few quid as well. Guys, hope you've enjoyed it, and if you have, why not check out one of our other videos on a review just here.